Alright, in this optional lesson, we are going to set up a few things here for our rig, which are going to serve as visual cues for us so that when we're animating, we can make sure that things are easily seen and selectable. But first, before I do that, I'm going to select a bone here. I'll just grab the pelvis, and I'm going to hit my Enter key on my numeric pad once, and I'm going to create a key at -1. And I'm going to select all items and click OK. And the reason that I'm doing that is because when you open up layout in your default timeline, you usually have a range something like 0 to 60. And I've created a key now for everything at -1, which is actually behind here, which I can't get to unless I go in here and enter -1. And the reason for that is that it's just a safety measure so that if anything gets messed up in my rig or moved out of place, I can always go back to set my range here, my lower range to -1 and get back to this default pose. So let's go ahead here and select, first I'm going to select this null that I'm using for the eye target. I'm going to hit P, whoops, down here on my end range I actually need to type in a number. I'm going to hit P for object properties. And I'm going to add a custom object under the geometry tab here. And the custom object that I'm going to add is called item shape. You can actually see that I've already had one in here when I was preparing for this lesson that I entered in. And but I'll go ahead and show you everything, all the options are here in the item shape dialog. First, we can select a shape, and we have the standard cross null. And we've got a box, a ball, pyramid, a diamond, tetra, things like that. And down here we can select an axis if we wanted to change the orientation of that. We can set the scale, we can have it filled, we can have a label, we have a justification, left, center, right. We can draw a line to an object or to any part of our rig here if we wanted to. And we can set some colors. And I think I'm going to leave mine as a diamond. And I'm going to scale that down. And in here you can see, well, let's go to about there. In here you can see I've applied a label, which I've just called eyes. Nice thing about using the diamond shape is that when you do use a label, it actually puts the text here at the top, and it doesn't do that for all the shapes. Leave the justification at center. I'm not going to draw a line to anything. We've already got lines drawn to our eyes, but I will use some colors. I think for the unselected color, I'm going to use a dark red, and for the selected color, I'm going to use a green, and I'm going to have that filled in. So let's close that. I'm going to copy that. Now I'm going to select our right IK arm null, and I'm going to paste that in, but I'm going to change this a little bit. Instead, I'm going to use a box. And I'll go ahead and leave it at that size, but I don't want it filled, and I don't really want a label for it. And everything else I'm just going to leave at the default. You also notice down here, I didn't mention this before, you have an opacity. And say, for example, you were in the eyes here, and you wanted to change the opacity to 50%. Well, that's a pretty nice feature. But the thing about this is I found is even if you set this property and save your scene, sometimes when you load your scene back up, the opacity just defaults back to 100%, and I don't know if that's a bug or if that's just a feature that was never really included in saving scenes. So I'm going to go back to this null, and I'm going to select that, I'm going to copy it, I'm going to select this null over here, paste it, select this null down here, paste it, and I'm going to double click there to open up the options. I'm just going to increase the size a little bit, let's say 100 meters. I'll copy that, select this null over here for the right leg, and I'll paste that, and we'll go ahead and close that. So there's a few little things that actually you might find helpful. Ultimately, what I do for my own preferences is that I'm going to go in the scene editor later, and I'm going to hide all these bones here that I actually don't use to animate. and so that when I'm looking at my rig, actually all I'm seeing are things that I can use to animate them, and I don't have to look at things that I don't want to look at. Okay, let's actually select this null down here, which is the reference null. I'm going to hit Item Properties again, and I'll go ahead and paste what I had in the what I had before. But for this one, I'm going to select a ring. I'm going to increase the size quite a bit to about there, and I'm going to leave that filled. And down here under Unselected Color, I'm going to choose a dark green, and that'll be a good color because we've got a dark red here for these shapes, and a dark green will give us a nice contrast. And for the selected color, I'll just use a kind of a brownish. So now if I deselect that, let's say for example I select the pelvis. Actually, let's select this null here. You can see now when I move this down, I can actually see when I'm having a little bit of floor penetration, and that might be a good guide if you don't actually have any other geometry in your scene. And certainly you can deselect this if it ever gets in your way and you don't want to look at that. Okay, let's do one more thing here. I'm going to add in another null, and this one I'm going to call left foot roll proxy. Actually, let's simplify that. Let's just call that left foot proxy. And I'm going to turn off auto key, and I'm going to turn off parent in place. Go into my schematic view. I'm going to grab that null and move over here to my left side. And I'm going to parent that to the left IK leg null. Let's go back over here. So now you can see that that popped into place there. And I'm going to leave it parented for the moment, and I'll turn on auto key. I'm going to move this null forward a bit. What I'm going to use this null for is a proxy object. You'll notice in this area here, we've actually got a couple things that we could select. One of them is the IK handle to move our leg. And then we've got that other little bone down here, which is the one that we use for the foot roll. And actually, I'm even having a... Looks like, yeah, okay, I did get it selected that time. It's kind of hard to tell. Well, I want to set up an object here so that I don't have to go in and try and grab that little tiny bone, because I might accidentally select this null here for the IK. So I'm going to take this object, and I'm going to go into P for Item Properties, and I'll go ahead and paste what I had left before, which looks like it was a box, and let's set that to a ball. I'll decrease the size a little bit, and I'm not going to have a selected color. I'll just leave an unselected color, say a dark green, like that. Okay, and I think I'll go ahead and clone that item, hitting Control C, and then I will go into my schematic view, and I'm going to unparent it from the left IK leg just by control clicking on the right IK leg. Right click and rename to right foot proxy. Let's go back into perspective view, and now we've got that on the other side right there. Okay, let's go into layout, plugins, and master plugins, and we're going to add the plugin in here called Proxy Pick. And what Proxy Pick will let us do is select a proxy object and then select a target item. So whenever we select the proxy object, what we'll actually end up doing is selecting the target item. So in this case, the proxy object is going to be the right foot proxy, and the target item is going to be the right foot roll, which is right there. Just go ahead and close that. I'm going to select off of that for a second, and oops, where did our null go? It's there. But you know what? I picked a bad color for it, didn't I? Because now I can't see it. I can't see it with that color down, because it's the same exact, I picked the same color that was down there. That's okay. Let's go ahead and fix that. go back into master plugins. I'm going to deselect that, minimize that for the moment, and I'm going to select that item, going back into P for item properties, and I need to change that color. And why don't we just go ahead and use the same dark red as we had before. And I think I'll do the same thing over here. Guess I didn't plan that out so well. Okay, now we can go back and select this item. I'm going to turn that off. And let's see if we can, looks like our master plugin went away. Okay, now we can select that. And if I select off and then select this again, you'll see that it actually selected the right foot roll. So I can easily just get to that. I can select this, I can select that, and no problems at all. And now you'll notice also, if I move that around, that the null moves with the foot, with the leg. Okay, let's go ahead and add one more proxy pick. And you'll need to do this for every item that you use as a proxy. And this time I'm going to use the left foot proxy, and I'm going to target the left foot roll. And that is located right there. I'll close that and test that out, and that's exactly what I wanted to have happen. You know what, and I'm going to go in my scene editor here. I'm going to go up to my reference null. I'm just going to lock that down for the moment. So I don't need to really select that. The reference null is great because it allows us to move the entire rig around into position. But really, once you do that, you don't really need to get to it much more once you start animating. Okay, so I've showed you how to set up item shapes for certain parts of your rig, and I've shown you proxy objects. Really, probably what I would do at this point is go ahead and create a few more proxy objects. I would do one for each of the knee bones, and I would do one for each of the elbow bones, and then I would go ahead and turn off the visibility on probably a few of these bones, and that's certainly a matter of preference. In the next lesson, actually, I'm going to show you a different technique. We're going to set up some expressions in such a way that we'll have some items that we can select in our scene, that we can toggle the visibility of parts in our scene. So we're going to have an item that we can allow us to toggle the visibility of the mesh, and then we'll have one that allows us to toggle the visibility of all this junk that we have in the scene, all these nulls and stuff, so that we can actually set it so that everything goes away and we can just look at our mesh. And that's pretty handy when you're animating. If you're doing any previews and you don't want to see all this extra stuff, you just want to concentrate on what your character is doing, we can easily just change the visibility of all these nulls and everything so we don't have to see them. Okay, so with that, I'll see you in the next lesson.